Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kokwadash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharala, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, who before losing their true heritage were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to have a discussion about the updates towards World War III and Armageddon. But let's read this first. This is Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And recently I've read this article from Zero Hedge that states as Washington hegemonic ambitions defy multipolar reality, risking catastrophic conflict. Right? And what is that catastrophic conflict? Well, it's what the Bible refers to as Armageddon, right? Or what everybody is, tiptoeing around, World War III. Okay, we are on the verge of these major powers going to war, right? This is why you're starting to see a lot of news about America antagonizing China and Russia and Iran and North Korea, right? These are the major players that you will see, take part in the World War III prophecy, which will soon be upon us. Right, but let's go and read this article and let's just get down to it. It says, the rapidly shifting international distribution of power creates problems that can only be resolved with real diplomacy, right? And that's a bunch of BS, because the Lord is setting up the spirits of these heathen nations to no longer be down to talk, right? Just look at the way the Chinese spoke to the American ambassador over in the Switzerland summit, right? They weren't, they basically told America off, right? Basically that they were not speaking from a position of power regarding pointing the finger at the Chinese about their human rights abuses, right? Well, let's continue. The great powers must recognize competing national interests, followed by efforts to reach compromises and find common solutions, right? And that's nothing that is within Esau's vocabulary, right? It says when he does good, he does it unwillingly, okay? That's the MO of these Edomites, right? They not only want to win, but they want everybody else to lose. Okay, that's the credo of the Edomite for the most part, right? Continuing, he says, over the past week, the Biden administration has intensively reached out to Europe to revitalize the transatlantic alliance, right? That's NATO, right? That's the beast. In the following on-topic interview, Professor Glenn Dyson explains how the United States is opposed to the emerging reality of a multipolar world because of its winners-take-all ideology. In doing so, Washington is predisposed to antagonize the military relations primarily with Russia and China, right? And this is why you're seeing all these news, man, especially about Putin calling Biden out and America and the elites of America out because Biden called him a killer, right? The whole event with China that I just discussed, right? These are only going to intensify until the point where those, verbal jabs turn into, economic wars, and then those economic wars are going to turn into real wars, right? Culminating in World War III. Let's go and skip down here to this part here that's highlighted. It says, and he says the onus is on the United States and Europe to recognize competing national interests beyond their own, followed by efforts to reach compromises and find common solutions, right? So basically, the point that of this article, this intro, is that America is trying to become, or trying to rebirth its connections to the whole European countries, because it understands that it needs to build up the EU and the NATO relations, right? To help fight against Russia and China, right? Because they can see the war that is coming, right? And I'm going to skip down because there was one part here that I wanted to cover. Where does it say here? Okay. Let's see this. Well, here, basically the last part here, right? It says, question. Finally, are you concerned that deteriorating international tensions could lead to war? Glenn Dyson says, yes, we should all be concerned. Tensions keep escalating, and there are increasing conflicts that could spark a major war. A war could break out over Syria, Ukraine, the Black Sea, the Arctic, the South China Sea, and other regions, right? So you see the Lord has perfectly set up this chess piece that where war is surrounded, or possible war is surrounding these devils, man. They are now, not only are they having to fight a mounting insurgents or sedition here in the United States itself, but also they are now facing the war on multiple fronts. Okay, this is why you keep hearing about Biden saying that the American military can chew gum and walk at the same time, right? Because they're right now facing multiple threats. Okay, but their biggest threat is that the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, the Israelites of the Holy Bible, are actually waking up, right? This is why the Lord is doing all these things, which ultimately are going to culminate in the destruction of the Edomite Empire, right? He's going to catch them on their ass and stuff for the most part, right? Let's continue. It says, what makes all of these conflicts dangerous is that they are informed by a winner's takes all logic, wishful thinking, or active push towards a collapse of Russia, China, the EU, and the US is also an indication of the winner takes all mentality. Under these conditions, the large powers are more prepared to accept greater risk at a time when the international system is transforming, right? And this ultimately means that these elites are pushing forward the New World Order, right? With all these lockdowns and whatnot, right? See, because not only is the New World Order emerging right now, but you're now having all these different power bases or nations wanting to now take over because they see that America is falling out of power. So now everybody else is stepping up and is going to try to take that lead position, but that isn't going to work because it tells you, man, World War III is going to. It says the chip's going to be initiated, right? Then they're going to make it mandatory. Then World War III is going to break out, and then Armageddon's going to freaking start, right? Then that's when you're going to see the second coming of the Lord, and then that's when the nuclear missiles are going to be launched, and ultimately that's where America will eventually meet its demise, right? Its destruction, right? So it says the rhetoric of upholding liberal democratic values also has clear zero-sum undertones, as it implies that Russia and China must accept the moral authority of the West and commit to unilateral concessions. A rapidly shifting international distribution of power creates problems that can only be resolved with real diplomacy. The great powers must recognize competing national interests, followed by efforts to reach compromises and find common solutions. And that right there is a wishful idea, man. This is not going to happen, man, because again, like what did the Lord say? Prepare war, wake up the mighty man. And that's what's happening right now. See, all the Russians are being roused up to war. China is being roused up, man. They've built the largest military, right? Bigger than America now, right? And not only that, but they're also they're even training their men to be more masculine, man, because they're getting ready for that warlike spirit, right? This is Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, right? And this is ultimately talking about how the beast, which is NATO, is going to turn against America, right? It's going to ultimately, hate the whore, right? Because again, the whore is America. The beast is the EU and the NATO alliance, right? Now, as you've seen right here, America in that article is trying to rebuild its relationship with the European countries and the NATO alliance, but that isn't going to happen, right? The whole push for right now that the U.S. is trying to do is get the Ukraine into NATO because they believe that if they bring Ukraine into the NATO, that's going to make Russia back off, or hence it's going to make all the European nations then try to basically stand up and protect Ukraine, which isn't going to happen according to Scripture, right? There's this other article in Zero Hedge, which also is related to this, and it says, U.S. Army raises Europe threat level to potential imminent crisis on Ukraine-Russia fears, right? So what is that? Potential imminent crisis, right? So this means this is going to happen, man. This is not going to go away. The recent rise in tensions between the U.S. and Russia over continued simmering conflicts in Ukraine seem to correspond with the Biden administration's entering the White House. Many pundits have commented that on a foreign policy front, things are eerily feeling like a throwback to the Obama years in 2014, 2015. Whether it's the Ukraine or Crimea crisis or Syria returning its headlines again, including Biden's ordered airstrikes on the country in February, or the growing Russia-NATO standoff, right? See, because Russia is coming against the Western powers, man. See, it says, the past weekend, we were among the very few to take notice of the Pentagon's latest large military equipment delivery to Ukraine's army via the port of Odessa, following Biden earlier pledging that Crimea is Ukraine and that he'd work to thwart Russian aims in the region, right? And this is what he's talking about, man. The U.S. military just sent a huge, 350 tons of military equipment, including tactical vehicles, to Ukraine Odessa port, right? And so America is pushing is pushing for the war, man. So right there, they're going to basically protect this area, right, of Ukraine, right? Because Russia is coming in from over here in this area, right? And this is where, remember, when a few weeks ago I mentioned of how the U.S. is moving into the Black Sea and everything. Well, this right here is the result of that, man, right? You're having U.S. military equipment being placed in Odessa, and it's on its way to Crimea, right? And this is where you're going to see some frontline battles. Now, what did Russia do for this? Let's go and skip down. Oh, and here you go, by the way. See, so this is where Russia is at, and it tells you, it says, the report also describes the infusion of new Russian military equipment on the Kremlin-backed rebels, something which the latest follow-up statement by the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov downplayed, charging that it is the Ukrainian side now taking provocative actions that would lead to war. You see, and it's both sides that are actually leading the war, because this is what was caught, recently. Like it says here, it says Russian forces are deploying massive amounts of military hardware into Crimea, one of the largest deployments I've seen in recent memory. So you see that? So these countries are preparing for war, man, right? And not only is America, antagonizing Russia, right? Basically, pushing or backing, the Ukraine by giving them military things. They've also flown or they've antagonized the Chinese by basically coming out and supporting Taiwan, which again, if you're unsure, Taiwan for the most part is a breakaway state of China, which is claiming that it's its own country, and it's been doing this for the longest time. And this is why China right now is pissed off at NASA and all these other countries, because they claim that because they give Taiwan legitimacy and call it its own country. Well, America recently came out and says China warns U.S. over red line after American ambassador makes first Taiwan visit for 42 years, right? Amid tensions with Beijing, the U.S. approved the sale of weapons worth $3.69 billion to Taiwan, right? So here you go. So there's Esau, man, selling weapons to Moab, man. And you see, these are the things that is causing America to basically thumb their nose at China, man. And this is going to cause, this is going to be a bad day for America when they realize that Moab isn't playing. Right? This is Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right? And this is a prophecy that the Messiah himself, stated, which is literally happening right now. Right now, I just read to you some rumors of wars, of things that are taking place now. Right? But don't worry, Akim. Right? These are all the things that have to be put into place, so that way the Lord's master plan can play out. Right? This is how he's going to take these devils out. Right? He's setting up his chess pieces. Right? Now, what you do got to worry about is this. This is Romans 13:11, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, right? And the works of darkness is ultimately the works of this world. And let us put on the armor of light, right? The armor of light is the knowledge of the Bible. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting or drunkenness, right? This should go directly to the guys over in Sakari with that recent Passover debacle that's falling upon them, right? And for all you Akim and Akwathiam out there who are watching this play out, I hope you understand that what's happening now with the recent IUIC and the ISUPK and now the Sakari thing going on. I hope you understand that this is a spiritual revelation, that the Lord is making it very clear, who not to be following, right? Because the Lord is pretty much taking out all these other profane camps, man. These camps who are basically feeding themselves off of you, okay, making merchandise out of you to sell you shirts with fringes, right? Tickets to Passovers and all that type of stuff, man, right? So again, let's continue. Not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envy, but put ye on Yahweh Bashim Ashai, the Messiah, and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. So, that being said, man, we are in these end times, Akim. This is the time when you should be fighting to stay in this truth, right? The brother Rome made this beautiful lesson, right? To keep your mind in space, man. You know, in the heavens, right? So it's time to fight to stay in this truth, man. You know, don't get dissuaded, right? The devil's going to tempt all of us, right? He's going to bring us all ultimately to that hour of temptation, which is going to be the mark of the beast, right? Which is all tied in with this, you know, this crown 19, right? And the jab. But besides that, you're going to have other things thrown at you, right? Things that the Lord is going to test you with, man. That being said, remember, keep your mind on this truth. And remember, once you are tried and you pass, right, you're going to inherit the kingdom of heaven, man, right? And you're going to gain that salvation, right? So hopefully this video was edifying. Akim. Till the next time, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Dash, the Lord is my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.